Time to wake up. It's Saturday morning. Find some milk and cereal. Grab a bowl and spoon. No, a bigger spoon. Head to the living room and take a seat on the floor while Joseph and Chris present to you Saturday Morning Cartoon!
Hello everybody, welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoon Boom! This is a show where we wake with the Saturday morning sun, plopped on the floor, big bowl of sugar, cereal, and check your favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
And this morning, we watched Aggretsuko! You watched the English dub, right?
I watched the English dub, yes.
Okay, and I watched the sub version, the regular Japanese version, because that's what was on Netflix. What's so great about that is watching like her just dance to that in her cute little way. And it's just, it's funny seeing the juxtaposition of this cute little red fox dancing to this hardcore death metal music.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. I mean, basically, the long title of it is Aggressive Retsuko.
Yeah, and then they shorten
Aggressive Retsuko. Yeah.
Agretsuko.
And so they shorten it down.
This was suggested by David Bond via Facebook.
Nice. Thank you, David. And the show Aggretsuko, right now, it's just been airing, it started this year, 2018. It was originally created by the designer known only as Yeti, and he wished to remain anonymous. He or she wished to remain anonymous outside of that. But it was
an actual Yeti that did it.
It may have been. It could have been Bigfoot himself. And they did this for the Sanrio company, who you obviously would know from Hello Kitty, among many, many other things. Some of the more popular ones now are, I guess, would be Aggretsuko and also Guritama, which is a little like depressed egg yolk, if you've ever seen that.
I've seen it before. I didn't know that was like an actual thing, though.
Oh, yeah. It was developed by Retsuko, produced by FanWorks and Netflix. So far, has run from one season, 10 episodes on Netflix. For a short synopsis, a socially awkward accountant deals with her annoying coworkers by chugging beer and singing death metal. That's pretty accurate. The death metal is obviously the huge draw to it. It's even labeled sort of as a an anime / musical sort of thing, because there's usually a song to cap off every episode of some sort.
It's like Hello Kitty with the soundtrack of Metalocalypse.
The song almost summarizes how she's feeling in each episode. So it's kind of just like a nice way to cap it off and say like, okay, here's all that I've been going through. Because basically it kind of runs this route where she's going through all these things and reaching a boiling point to where you feel like she's going to blow, but it's like not quite yet. And at the end, she finally gets to let off some steam in the karaoke room. And that's when you hear this song talking about various things that happen throughout the episode or that she's going through in her life. So who are some of the actors who played in this show?
Again, because this is an anime and it's been dubbed in English, I'll be saying both names. So the voice of Retsuko was Kaolip. There's no last name, that's just it. And then in English, Erica Mendez. The death metal voice of Retsuko, which I guess would be like the singing voice, you know. The same name that you said before, it was Retsuko. And in English, Jameson Bose. The voice of Feneko was Rina Inao. And in English, Caitlin Galt. The voice of Haida in Japanese was Shingo Kato. And in English, Benjamin Diskin. The voice of director or Mr. Tone was Sota Are, and in English, Josh Petersdorf, who for you nerdy Overwatch fans like me, that's the voice of Roadhog. So very fitting there. I love it. The voice of Komiya was also Sota Are, and in English, Todd Habercorn. The voice of Gori was Maki Tsuruta and J.K. Bose. And finally, the voice of Washimi was Komagumi Koyosaki. The English voice was Tara Platt. I got through that whole thing in almost one take. I just wanted to say that because I'm very proud of it.
Oh, yeah, which is kind of rare for these co-op ones where you have to read the Japanese name and the English name.
Yeah, I actually practiced this time before we started.
You shouldn't have said that. You should have just said you got through it clean. Well, that's okay.
I should cut this out, but I feel like I need to be honest.
I mean, honestly, we probably should rehearse this at certain points, and that way we'd have less to cut out in the long run. But
You would think so.
we'll never learn. We're
No.
on episode like 140 now, so I think we're too far gone.
It's too far. We've made it too far.
So for a few tasty marshmallows out of our big bowl of Aggretsuko cereal, as I kind of mentioned earlier, Retsuko is a red panda created by Yeti for Sanrio, the mascot company famous for Hello Kitty and various other things. The character Retsu means fury or rage in Japanese, so very fitting. And also, to tag on to this isn't necessarily the very, very first animation of Retsuko. There was actually a 100 episode, 1 minute anime short series directed by Rerecho and Fanworks, which aired on TBS between April 2nd, 2016 and March 31st, 2018. As part of the Osama Brunch television program, Pony Canyon began releasing the shorts on DVD from January 18th, 2017. So this already existed in the 1 minute short form, and I may have seen some of these before this series came out and became like a bigger thing. Because these episodes that we watched are 15 minutes apiece. So they're a little longer than the 11-minute ones that we're used to, but they're also shorter than the 20-minute ones. So it's kind of a right in between. It kind of fits well there because any longer, it would kind of be like overstaying its welcome with some of these stories. And any shorter, you just wouldn't get, I guess, a satisfactory ending to them. So it feels kind of like a perfect length for these episodes.
Yeah, I was kind of confused at first because I didn't know that there was like a whole 100 episode series before this. So at first I was just like, wait a minute, because I was looking things up, trying to find it in the dub, and I kept finding like 1 minute long episodes, and I was like, this doesn't seem right. And then it wasn't until like I did a little more research, I found out that I'm just dumb and didn't know that there was 2 series.
Again, for the record, we are watching the Netflix version, which is the 15-minute 2018 version, which still picks up characters from the original one, so it's not like watching them as a completely separate thing. But just for the sake of cleanliness, this is what we did. So did you ever hear of this before David suggested it?
No, definitely didn't. I wanted to, but never made it.
I don't think I actually watched any of the 15-minute series, at least not a whole episode of it. But I do remember some shorts and seeing that. I think her brother David actually introduced that to me. This is a different David. It was something I was somewhat familiar with, but not to the extent that I knew it was going to be something much larger. So let's go ahead and jump into the 3 episodes for today's show. The very first episode, highest rated episode, finally random chosen episode. Order and vary depending on how these episodes fall chronologically. But of course, we have to start with the very first episode, which is A Day in the Life of Retsuko. Season 1, Episode 1. Retsuko, a young corporation working female red panda, is under the head of her macho, arrogant boss. Luckily, he does not know Retsuko's personal secret.
I think it's hilarious that her secret is death metal karaoke. Like, that's just such a weird thing. I mean, it's a weird thing to do, I guess, but I just feel like, and maybe it's just the Japanese culture versus us. Like here, I think if you were in an office, some people would kind of raise some eyebrows like, what? But I don't think it would be that weird if it got out, you know?
Mm-hmm. I guess just seeing how timid she is, you wouldn't assume right off that she would be into that kind of thing.
I guess that makes sense. I do like, though, that this episode starts out with her, like, trying to get ready for work, but she's, like, a lot less organized than you would think. Like, when she wakes up, you see some beer bottles laying around, and she's, like, just doing all kinds of stuff, like, giving herself these little, like, pep talks and getting ready, but when she ends up at work, she realizes she's wearing Crocs. And she's like freaking out about it because she's just like afraid of everyone like is going to judge her, and people see them and just nobody really cares that much, you know?
I think we should start also by saying that it kind of opens, like before the credits even started, opens with her starting this job and the optimism that she has, like getting out of college, coming into her first day in her corporate job and being ready for it and being happy. And then, you know, we see even in the first part of this, how the boss is and things like that. And so it jumps to 5 years after being on this job. And then that's when, again, it picks up with her like waking up and getting ready for work.
Yeah.
And the excitement and the optimism is obviously gone.
I literally just hit my 5-year mark at work, and I can kind of sympathize there.
I'm at year 7, almost 8 now, so
You're
I
almost dead
completely
then, right?
understand. If it weren't for the death metal karaoke, I don't know what I would do.
It's true. It's true. I'm going to have to start doing death metal karaoke to make it through.
Good for your
We
soul.
get introduced to a few characters. Tsunoda is a literal starry-eyed doe that notices the Crocs. She doesn't really come into play a whole lot, but one of the characters that I guess is supposed to be kind of like one of her best friends, at least at work, is Feniko, who I think is hilarious. It's like this cat.
I think she's a fox, like a...
Oh, she's a fox, okay.
Some kind of fox, yeah.
Oh, yeah, so just a heads up if you didn't, because we didn't explain it, but these are all anthropomorphic characters.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, there you go. Problem solved. Feniko's she analyzes and judges everybody's like social media and stuff, which I think is hilarious. Like, she's kind of a cyber stalker in a way. It happens in this episode, it happens in another episodes, and I just think that is hilarious. Just the links that she goes to. She's like obsessive with it.
Yeah, her character is great. She's like an analyst to like the 100th degree, because she's talking about how like this person's acting different than they did than their usual routine. And so this means something has changed. Like, she can kind of read people really well.
Yeah.
But only because she like keeps track of everyone around her and all of their social outings on social media. So she's very in touch with what everyone's doing.
With Tsunoda, she notices like that Tsunoda has a posting pattern as far as her Instagram pictures. And then that pattern is interrupted by like a picture of Tsunoda like showing off her thighs or something.
Like, she posted 2 thigh pics this week. So there must be some guy she's interested in. She's doing it for some guy.
Yeah.
Like, she's got this whole like analysis of it going on.
Her other kind of buddy there, Haida, is a hyena. I don't know. He's kind of the generic fun office friend. You know, like he's pretty casual. He's kind of goofy and just seems like a good guy.
He's almost the most normal of them all, really.
Yeah,
he's just like your average Joe.
Then we got Director Tone, or Mr. Tone, who's just this big evil pig, and he is just a jerk. And extremely sexist. So, I mean, him being a pig, you know, there's a little duality there in why he is a pig.
His name in Japanese is a play on of chauvinist pig, so completely fitting.
There's this little lackey, Komiya.
It's a meerkat, yeah.
Yeah, and God, he's such a sniveling little boy. But I love him. He cracks me up, especially his voice. Oh my God. And we get to a point, what really starts getting to Retsuko is the sexism of Mr. Tone. And that, like, she forgot to do something, and, like, I guess she's supposed to get him tea in the morning or something, and she didn't, and he gets all angry and is just throwing a fit, and he says, like, getting tea is women's work. And he says a lot of things like that and talks about how worthless women are.
He's a director, and then you've got these other 2 directors who are like the kind of women that he supposedly hates, which are these powerful women. You've got director Gori and Washimi, and Gori is a gorilla, a large gorilla woman, and then Washimi is like I don't know what kind of bird she is, but she's some kind of like stork or something, I believe.
Sort of, I think a crane maybe, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, you might be right.
But they look very sassy.
Oh yeah, I love the way they walk.
I just think that's hilarious that, you know, they cultivated this walk on purpose to make them look powerful.
But it's really hard on their back.
Yeah, exactly. I just think that's great. I like that a lot.
It is. There's also this really annoying hippo woman, the coworker.
Oh my God,
that
yes.
I think if you've ever worked anywhere, you're familiar with, because she is the gossipy, really annoying type who has to show you pictures of her kids, her nephews, her pets, whatever. Like, she's just always showing you pictures. No, it never shuts up. And if you tell her anything, it's going to spread around the whole office.
Yeah, I definitely have worked with one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a very like typical office setting. In the 5 years I've worked, I've seen a lot of these stereotypes that we're seeing in the show.
Yeah, it's like they're a little exaggerated, but not so exaggerated that they don't feel real if you've been around that environment. And this one kind of closes out with her, of course, going to her, secret karaoke to diffuse after work. And the song was something about like selling my soul like a corporate slave and choking on my rage.
Yes.
Sounds so awesome.
These songs sound like they would be actual metal songs. They were definitely made for the show, but they don't sound that way.
Oh, I wonder if they have a vinyl album. I would totally get that.
Yeah, it'd be worth it. It'd be fun.
Second episode we watched for today's show was Exposed, Season 1, Episode 5. This was your pick.
Yeah, so I just wanted to pick something that was in the middle because the highest rated one ended up being the very last one of the season. The title, too, Exposed, I just kind of assumed, okay, her secret's going to come out at least to somebody. or she's going to be in a vulnerable position. So I thought that would be interesting to see.
Yeah, this is one of those episodes that I really enjoy, the type that I like, because it ties from the first one, you are introduced to the characters, so you know who these people are, and then it gives you kind of a lead in to the way the last episode is going to be, because you find out who now knows of her secret, or who is going to discover her secret in this one. So it's a good accompaniment to the episodes that we watched. Because in this one, Gori and Washimi end up taking Retsuko to her usual karaoke bar where her penchant for death metal is exposed. And it is so great leading up to that. Like, I didn't know for sure that there was going to be any point where she actually came out and started singing. But once she did, man, it was so worth it.
And the way that they find out is the best. Okay, so this introduces my favorite character on the show.
Oh, tell me it's the yoga instructor.
It is definitely the yoga instructor, because the only word he can say is protein.
Yeah, protein. Yeah.
He's like a Pokemon if the Pokemon's name is Protein.
In the Japanese version, he literally says protein also. So I wonder if they changed the voice actor at all, or if it's the same one, because it was kind of the same voice, like a really gravelly teen.
It's awesome. Oh my God, I was cracking up so hard at that character. Every time he was on the screen, he was hilarious.
Every time he spoke, because it was like protein in different ways. Like he would say it like slower or like inquisitively, and it was just so funny. And somehow they understood him, I guess.
Right.
It was great.
You see, like, Washimi and Gori tried to invite Retsuko out after their yoga class, and she declines.
She wants to find a marriage partner so she can quit her job, but she can't share that with them because they're obviously like her superiors or whatever at work. And he's looking out the window and just shaking his head, protein. We dig a little deeper into Haida's character, the hyena, who is at a bar drowning out his sorrows with Finako. He's talking about how he's sort of got a thing for Retsuko, but like he hasn't told her that or anything, but he's just like wondering like what all she's doing.
I guess he keeps trying to get her to come out and just have a drink. You know, he's not like asking her on a date, but he's trying to hang out. Like he's slowly, casually trying to work up the courage and make them move. She keeps saying that she's busy, and he's sad because he thinks it's got to be another guy. So, of course, Finako is using her stalking tactics now on Retsuko. By searching other people's Instagram, she finds that Retsuko's in the background at the yoga studio, like bending over doing something. Another thing I thought was really funny is we see the situation again with Gori and Washimi walking through a hallway, encounters Retsuko and Haida, and it's like a repeat of the scene we saw in the first episode. This time, Retsuko's like, please don't make eye contact kind of thing, and like trying to rush everyone along, and doesn't acknowledge Gori or Washimi. As soon as they go around the corner again, Gori like collapses and cries, and she's like, oh, she hates us. Like she didn't even acknowledge us.
They're not at odds with each other or anything, but on the previous night, Retsuko had declined going out with them because she wanted to go home or something. And so, like, she thinks that they're mad at her, and they think, or at least Gori thinks, that she's mad at them. So it's a whole misunderstanding thing.
Yeah, the real thing is, like, I think they're desperate to have, like, a third woman as part of their group. You know, they want 3 people, and they thought Retsuko would be it, and now they're upset because they think that she hates them.
What is that lady's name who is the Komodo dragon? She keeps like trying to get people to open these jars.
Yes.
And I guess she has a ton of jars. The idea is like she tightens these jars so much that she wants to watch people fail by not being able to open them. And she takes satisfaction in watching other people fail. That's her whole deal.
Subone?
Yeah, so Subone, she is this Komodo dragon. She's like the head of the analyst or something. Whatever Retsuko's job is, like she's the head of that. So she's kind of her superior. And she's offended when Retsuko is able to just open this jar because the whole idea of it is it's so tight that nobody can open it. So she can watch them fail and enjoy it.
She's supposed to be like older, it looks like. Like she's like an old woman, but a Komodo dragon. And she's just a horrible person, basically. A lot of the people there are horrible people. So at least a lot of the higher ups seem to be.
So then we come and we see that you've got the yoga instructor who is having this like epiphany, I guess. Like he's just meditating and trying to figure out, I guess, what's wrong with Retsuko. And still, like all he's saying is protein. And then Like he comes up with these numbers like 9091-89 and he just puts it in a letter and I think he hands it to Gory, I believe.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, and
did you hear the wise words that he gave her?
Was it protein? Yeah. Like they're going out again and like it's another situation where Retsuko, might split off from them and go home, or they might go home instead. And then Gory sees this karaoke bar and she gets so excited about it because she didn't know it was there or whatever. And she hasn't done karaoke in years. And so she's trying to drag Retsuko there. And I think at that point, she kind of literally has to drag her there because obviously this is her little secret. She doesn't want anybody to know about it. And it's her thing. So they just kind of pick her up and carry her over there. And they're like, they both have beers and then they get her, at least in the Japanese version, they get her an oolong cocktail because she just asked for oolong tea. But then they get her an oolong cocktail so that she'll be a little looser.
Gory was looking at that note and she's just like, I don't know why the yoga master handed me this. She's like, if only he could reach out across time and space. And then you see him like meditating in a studio and it does like that. I think he like turns golden and you see like it does this like effect, like, I don't know, it reminds me of like a Professor X from the X-Men kind of effect. She gets this idea and like her eyes turn the same, like this red color that his turned. And then she punches those numbers into the machine and just hands Retsuko the microphone. It's almost like he kind of took over Gory's body for a split second. Yeah, and I just thought that was hilarious. And then, it plays the death metal song. Retsuko just cannot help herself, and she just jumps in with it.
Yeah, she's talking about being her true self. It's great because the director ladies start dancing to her singing.
Oh, yeah, they're into it.
And then she's trying to teach them how to do it, like how to do her death metal voice.
That was
and she's
funny.
like, you just have to clench your vocal cords and whatnot. And then it goes to a point. So there's various parts throughout the show where it's like this baboon guy is like the only person who really works at the karaoke place that I've seen. Like he's at least at the front.
Yeah.
And so he calls them and is like, hey, like you've got 10 minutes. Do you want to extend it? And usually she declines it and she's like, no, I'm done. And then like at this point, and I thought it was kind of sweet actually. It felt good. She's like, yeah, let's extend it because she's having fun with them and she's finally able to let loose in front of other people.
Yeah.
And so I just thought that was a nice way to close out the episode.
Yeah, it was really cool. She adds 2 extra hours and they just have a good night.
And the last episode we watched for today's show was The Dream Inn, season 1, episode 10, which is the highest rated and the last episode of this season of the series, at least. In this one, Retsuko is forced to realize that she can't keep ignoring the pain that she is going through.
This episode really kind of continues very well from the one we just talked about because we're seeing Gory and Washimi trying to do death metal and the karaoke by themselves because Retsuko's not there. Turns out Retsuko now has a boyfriend and is not hanging out with them anymore because she's just so busy with him. And her boyfriend, I guess, is supposed to be another red panda because he looks quite a bit like her.
Yeah.
Risasuke. And he's so weird. He's always sniffing his finger. It just cracks me up.
He's like basically a normal looking guy. He works with her, but he's in sales, so he doesn't work like directly with her.
Yeah.
But the way that she sees him is like some bright, starry-eyed guy who's super handsome. It's funny once you actually see the way that he really is after kind of the glamour is gone.
Yeah, just sniffing his finger and just being weird.
Yeah.
Haida's, of course, upset that she's dating somebody. He ends up getting really drunk and, like, I guess he passes out in the rain or something. He ends up getting pneumonia and goes to the hospital.
Yeah.
The 2 director women are kind of trying to tell Retsuko that she's not being herself. Like, she's just pretending. And Retsuko's just not hearing it whatsoever. She's just like, no, I'm happy. Like, everything's totally fine.
She's so fixated on her boyfriend that she hasn't really let loose in a while. And she has, basically been lying to herself and keeping it all pent up because she's blinded by, at this point, kind of infatuation.
Tsubone or whatever, like, breaks her wrist trying to open the jar, which is funny. This is like the things that are happening without Retsuko around. Like you said, Haida gets pneumonia. The one lady breaks her wrist.
Kaibe, who is the hippo lady,
yeah,
she's accused of spying, so she's been
she gets
taken
busted
in
for espionage. And I love one of my favorite part here is when that comes out. Like it's like the office is in disarray, and like everyone's freaking out, and Mr. Tone is of course angry. Man, that made me laugh real hard.
All of this is compiling because like it's the end of the quarter, and they really have to like get things done, make sure, since they're an accounting firm, like they have to make sure all these numbers match up, and it's like a do or die situation, and there's all these employees who are out. Retsuko is basically useless at this point because she's kind of like not even really there. She's like a ghost of herself.
Yeah, she's so happy she's not being normal.
Going through the motions. And so this is where like I was like, oh dang, like director Tone, like he's really actually a good employee. Like throughout the series so far, like he just seems like worthless. He's just golfing all the time, not doing any work,
and a jerk.
And then and a jerk. And then, but in this one, he just like really like hunkers down. He's not even using computers. Like he's using like the old an abacus, and they're talking about like how the analog generation is just really interesting, and he's basically doing more work than all of them are, even though they have the computers.
I think what's interesting too is like Tone gives Retsuko some like actual legit life advice.
Yeah, like sage advice.
Yeah, I think the nail in the coffin is she takes Risasuke to karaoke. She does it and he's just kind of like, yeah, you're good. But he's like not into it. Like he doesn't want to do it himself. And then I think that was like the final straw basically. And she breaks up with him. What's interesting is like after it happens, she says the words, "I'm back." And it's just like, yeah, you know, she's acknowledging she can be herself again and stuff. But the cool part was Risasuke, we see him go back, I guess, to wherever he lives or something. He walks into this room. There's all these plants in it. And he just says, "I'm back." I'm like, wow. So, okay. So he was going through the same thing and we never saw that. And obviously, Retsuko didn't know that he was also, you know, going through this issue where he can't be himself. It was just like, you know, these two people were just toxic for each other and not seeing it. It just feels more realistic that way. Cause I mean, you know, you do get those breakups sometimes where like one person obviously doesn't care about the other, but I think in most cases, both people come away from it, you know, a little hurt. And it was interesting to see that.
Yeah, it's like she was trying to be the perfect girlfriend or the way that she saw that. And then he was trying to be like this cool guy, and that's just not who he was. I mean, yeah, they were both just playing roles, and it wasn't working for either of them.
Exactly. And then Haida finally gets his opportunity to ask her out, but we don't hear her reply. So that sucks.
No, but it was a cool way to close out the season, though. Like, this episode had a lot of heart to it, surprisingly.
Yeah. That was more than I expected.
Yeah, especially director Tone, like, actually coming out and
definitely sold it.
Like, he pretty much went back to his old self at the end of the episode, but it was seeing that glimmer of redemption in his character that was like, oh, so he's not such a bad guy after all. Right. He's just this, you know, he does have a heart.
Exactly.
Well, Chris, it looks like it's about time we let out the rage boiling deep inside through some casual death metal karaoke while we let our inner kids tell everyone what they thought of Aggretsuko.
I thought a show about going to work in an office was going to be really stupid. But I didn't know how many cute animals work. Now I can't wait to grow up and get a job. So I gave this cartoon 4 bowls of death metal scream cereal out of 5.
While I only have a vague understanding of the stress that work brings based on the stories my older self has told me while he cried those salty tears of defeat, it seems like the show provides a pretty accurate depiction. While each character was an obvious embellishment of work stereotypes, they still felt relatable, and I started to feel bad for some of them. And looking at you, Haida, watching Retsuko's temper start to reach its boiling point after being pushed by coworkers and her boss alike remained entertaining throughout, and would always cap off nicely with a death metal number that was both awesome and also sort of sadly real at the same time. Overall, I'd give Aggretsuko 4.5 big bowls of protein cereal out of 5, and highly recommend it. In closing, I already know I can't sing, especially not death metal, so going to karaoke and hearing myself would probably just make me even more disappointed. If this is what work life is like, count me out. On an unrelated note, Chris, please spare me a bedroom in your future home for the day that I inevitably leave my job and need a place to stay. Thanks, friend.
We do have the bed prepared. However, you're going to have to stick with the pink sheets.
I can deal with that.
So do you have any final thoughts on Aggretsuko?
I came in knowing it was going to be good, and it was, but it had more heart to it than I expected. But I guess that even makes sense coming from a Sanrio thing. Like there's just so much cuteness to it, but it feels very real still, especially since we both work corporate jobs. So it's like, I get this. Like, I get this girl. I get this little red fox. I understand what she's saying in these death metal numbers. It hit close to home, and that's why I feel like I rated it so high, because it's something I don't know if kids would be able to appreciate as much, because they wouldn't get all the nuances to it, but it's still fun regardless. It has some good visual gags, but not so much. It's more focused on the dialogue, especially the music. So if you're going to try to introduce kids to it, I don't know exactly how they'll feel about it, but as an adult, you'll definitely be able to appreciate it.
The show didn't end up appealing to me as much as I hoped it would, but I still did like it, and I found it amusing. I found it fun. I'm not sure I'll go back and watch the rest of it, but I did love the characters. I love that it was this, that they used animals to represent all the characters. The death metal was a really funny touch, and there was definitely lots of funny parts to it. And like you, I can kind of relate to it working in an office setting, because I'm like looking at it and I'm like, oh yeah, in the office, like I'm kind of like this guy, or like, oh yeah, this person reminds me so much of Director Tone and things like that. So yeah, that was just fun. We don't get, surprisingly, there's not a lot of cartoons about office jobs, so we usually don't get to relate in that kind of way. There was heart in it at the end. I was not sucked in that first episode for sure. The first episode I was kind of disappointed. The fifth one, I was like, okay, this might get better. That last episode, I was like, that was great. I love where they went. Just didn't nail it all the way across the board for me, but I think it was still enjoyable. It's still a really cool show.
But I think most of all, the art style is really cute.
The art style is fantastic. I love the art style. It's the best part of this thing.
Go in for the art style, stay for the corporate jokes.
Exactly.
So thanks, David Bond, for suggesting this to us. It had been on my radar, or both of our radars, really, and this was a good chance to watch it.
Yeah, thanks, David.
Well, listeners, looks like our milk supply is now run dry, so it's time for us to say goodbye. And next week, we'll be watching
Rick and Steve, the happiest gay couple in all the world. So you may notice this was not number one. Once again, like we said a month ago, each month we are going to take one from the very bottom of the list. And this one got voted all the way to the bottom, which is sad. We saw that this one was coming, and then we kind of kicked ourselves for not doing this during like Pride Month.
Right.
So we're doing it late, but we just want to thank all of our LGBTQ plus listeners out there. We appreciate you and we love you.
Once again, I'm Joseph.
And
I'm Chris.
And we'll see you next Saturday.
presented by Nerdsloth.
A place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.